2012, George Lucas infamously sells the Star Wars IP to Disney for $4 billion. Under the auspices of Kathleen Kennedy, Star Wars has only managed to churn out 2 acceptable entries. One is the first season of Mandalorian. The second season's coming up. We'll see how that does. And Rogue One. So I was just talking about this with my good buddy Snowdub, who recently reached 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and needs your help to get his watch hours in. So hail Snowdub. And we both agreed that Darth Vader's hallway scene was the best lightsaber action we've gotten in the cinema from Disney Star Wars. If anything, I would say that Vader's presence was the only thing that pushed that movie into the stratosphere as far as early Disney Star Wars went. Vader was very integral in their $1.056 billion box office that we saw. Now, why was that? Because we do want to see more of Vader. We want to see him being badass. But more importantly was this scene. Vinay, Vader's lapdog sycophant piece of shit groveler, enters into Vader's private chambers where Vader is flanked by 2 of the Royal Guard in the BACTA tank, completely armorless. Vinay shows up to inform Vader of the approach of Director Krennic, and for an instant, we see Vader's skin. Now, this is the kind of shit that has us chomping at the bit, because Vader existed so long outside of our visual conception of who he actually was underneath the armor that stuff like this only builds upon what previous cinema had given us. Let's take a step back in time. Up until 1983, we didn't really know what Darth Vader was. Obi-Wan tells us that he is twisted and evil. With only 1980's Empire Strikes Back giving us a partial glimpse for just a few seconds of the man behind the machine. But how much was man and how much was machine? Well, we just didn't know. Even at the conclusion of Return of the Jedi, when Anakin is finally unmasked to gaze on his son's face for the last time, there's no clear indication, aside from the right hand that Luke had hacked off in the throne room, the proportion of man to machine, which constitutes the physical being of Darth Vader. Now, for years, that's all we had. I remember in between the releases of The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, I'd be sitting at my computer at work, back when I worked on a computer, and reading the novelizations of the original trilogy and visiting this website by Dr. Curtis Saxton, which he put online in 1995, aptly titled Injuries of Darth Vader. Now, this website is archived on theforce.net, so it's accessible. But this is an actual doctor going through and reviewing things like Palpatine's Force lightning illuminating Darth Vader's skeleton through his armor, and then using a medical perspective to give his take on what actually happened to Darth Vader, which necessitated the inclusion of life support inside his armor. And these 2 things were all that I was given for years, until 2005, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, when you can see what actually happened. Anakin is a quadriplegic. He was burned at the edge of a volcano, and he was taken back in a medical capsule to Coruscant to be rebuilt by Darth Sidious into what we now know as Darth Vader. The next best thing I saw in Legends was Star Wars Darth Vader and the Lost Command, where we see Darth Vader's cybernetics being maintained by a team of droids as he is focusing on Padme Amidala in order to keep himself sane. In these few panels, we see how painful it is for Darth Vader to be pieced back together. But pain leads to anger. Anger leads to suffering, and suffering leads to power. October 5th, 2020, by Dan Zinsky. Rogue One concept art shows Darth Vader's extended BACTA tank scene. Newly revealed concept art shows an early version of Darth Vader's memorable BACTA tank scene from the spin-off Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Whereas in the film, Vader's BACTA tank is obscured by steam and smoke and condensation, in this particular concept art, Darth Vader is depicted alone, isolated, armorless, quadriplegic, half man, half machine. The scene resembles something akin to the carbonite freezing room on Bespin, Cloud City. But this is far more nefarious. You can see the color palette, it has more reds in it, which is indicative of a hellish landscape. Very much appropriate for Vader's state of mind and his constant state of suffering. Would it have been a better choice visually to show this type of Vader, this type of scene? No, not in my opinion. I think Gareth Edwards was right in showing just the amount of Vader that we got, because it still makes us wonder and yearn for more. And honestly, despite what Disney Lucasfilm says, Star Wars is about Darth Vader. It's